Okay, so here our new unit, Unit 9, is going to be over South Asia. And remember, we've covered the continent of Asia, and it's so huge that we've been splitting it up. So we covered China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. That was East Asia. Last unit was Southeast Asia, down here in the southeast corner, where we had Cambodia and Indonesia and the Philippines. So now we're moving westward into South Asia. And so you should have your map in front of you, and I want you to label the following countries. Here we have India. Now, it's important to note that on your map, when you're coloring and labeling, that you make sure that you include this smaller area over here, which is also India. As you can see, it just connects right there. Next, we have Pakistan. And then we have Afghanistan. These three countries are going to be the main focus of this unit. However, I still want you to label a few other countries. Right here is the country Sri Lanka. Over here are the Maldives, the tiny islands. They're beautiful. And then we have Bangladesh, as well as Nepal. And this tiny dot up here is Bhutan. So go ahead and label these countries. If you need to pause the video or go back, feel free to do so. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Alright, so once you have labeled your countries, that was a political map. Now we're going to move on to a physical map of South Asia. As you can see, it kind of shows you where the physical geographic features can be found. And so we're going to do some more labeling. This right here is a picture of the Himalayan mountains, which are one of the major mountains that I want you to label. So, Himalaya Mountains can be found right here. They're on the northern border of India, and so we refer to Asia as an entire continent. However, since India is separated by a mountain range, sometimes you'll hear India referred to as a subcontinent. However, it is still a part of Asia. Next, we have the Indus River, which is very important. The Indus River and the Ganges River are very important because they have come up with a way to set up irrigation in order to keep their crops wet and fertile so that they're always able to grow things and survive off of the land. Lastly, see, there you go, the Ganges and Indus River flood and deposit silt to fertilize the oil. Very important. And then lastly, Hindu Kush Mountains are going to be over in Afghanistan. So take a second, label those, use a blue marker or, however you want to do it to label your rivers. And then remember, mountain ranges are like the top half of a triangle. Okay, just a brief history of India, the whole region of South Asia. This region experienced colonialism by European nations, and so colonialism, we've studied this term before back when we were talking about Europe and how Europe, like Great Britain, was in charge of the 13 colonies. They ruled the 13 colonies in America at first. So that's an example of colonialism, a larger country controlling a smaller nation. When we wrote the letter as a French citizen, or France and Morocco, right? So France used to be in control of Morocco until Morocco gained their independence. As a Moroccan citizen, you have the option to immigrate to France or to stay in Morocco, and we wrote a letter about that. So the history there is colonialism. France, again, a larger country controlling a smaller country, which would be Morocco. And so European nations were in charge of or controlling some of these South Asian countries. So this provided the South Asia region with European cultural diffusion, which is the blending of two cultures, primarily, again, from the powerhouse, Great Britain. And remember, Great Britain is interchangeable with England and New England? Yes. Great Britain, England, New England, all that good stuff. So this is a picture of Mr. Mohandas Gandhi, and he led the Indians' independence from Great Britain through peaceful protests. A lot of times you'll see quotes around by Gandhi. He was a very wise man, very peaceful man. He's often referred to as Mahatma, meaning great soul, because of his leadership and courage. Peaceful fighting was a new concept at the time, and so he was really stepping out. Again, independence came to the region in the 1940s, and the governments that typically replaced British rule were democratic, but they've led to varying degrees of success. We've talked about when nations gain their independence, how, it's kind of hit or miss, and if they're developing, then it's their numbers, their statistics, standard of living, it's going to be a little lower than what we see here in America. India claims to be the world's largest democracy, and Pakistan has suffered several military coups. Remember, we're over fighting the war in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran. Sometimes you'll hear about Pakistan and Afghanistan being a part of the Middle East, but for the Asia continental purposes, Pakistan and Afghanistan are considered South Asia. This region has experienced rapid population growth. India's population growth rate is greater than China, which means they're growing faster than China, and the Indian population will pass China by 2025. And the big deal about this is China is a much larger country, and so the fact that India is growing so rapidly because they are a democracy in that area, people are flocking to live a better life, it's very crowded and it's very dirty. So this wraps up day 1. And so if you'll label your South Asia map, make sure you color each country a different color. It doesn't have to be like the first map. If you want to rewind, whatever you need to do to make sure that you label everything. And then, color, label, all that good stuff. Thanks.